Hello, political sports fan. Whoever you are out there, welcome to the War Table. I'm Matt Johnson. I'm here to keep the score. This is going to be a longer video. This is an overview of everything that's happened from the day after the elections until today, January the 9th, 2025. So we're going to go through the points as we have them right now. So let's get started with that. Right now we've got the Democrats seated at minus 20. It's been a hard road for the Democrats since the elections. Not much has gone in their favor, but I know they're going to turn it around. I'm sure they're sitting somewhere plotting the demise of the right. We have the right and the Republicans up 15 points. We have MAGA, which is a different entity than the right and the Republicans, and independent voters with 2 points. So before you say it, you will see that MAGA is not all in caps. That's just fine. It's more pleasing to the eye. I don't want MAGA to stand out more than anybody else. So let's jump down and see how we got to this place. Alright, so I have tried to be as fair as possible in assigning or awarding points to the 4 different groups based on what's happened. The only thing that gains points or loses points is something that advances or sets back the goals of that team, if we talk in terms of teams. So getting started with the right, this is an easy one. The View getting fact-checked on air. That happened directly after Trump got elected. For the right, this definitely gets a point because it was both dramatic for people on the left, but it was extremely amusing for people on the right. Watching how it broke their rhythm with them having to put these disclaimers behind everything they said, which wasn't necessarily accurate, and having to do that consistently. The thing that's interesting is, from the timing of this that ABC already knew that they had this problem with Stephanopoulos in court and coming probably to settlement. So most likely they didn't want to open any more space as far as legal exposure to keep this and just keep these women contained. Crybabies. This is a funny one and a quick one. All of the liberal or left anger after the election and emotions that were expressed through social media was ridiculed by the right when it happened in so many different ways. But this is kind of like the World Cup. It happens once every 4 years, and so you just have to give points to the team that deserves it. And in this case, it's the right. So when I went to search for the definition of crybabies, it brought up this ridiculous thing. I didn't know that there are actually dolls called crybabies. Anyhow, crybabies, babies may cry for various reasons such as hunger, discomfort, pain, overstimulation, boredom, or tiredness or frustration. I thought that was funny. 2 points to the right. Stephanopoulos and ABC. This was probably one of the most cringe moments I've ever seen. And it seems that a lot of people agreed with that, which was verbally beating up on a rape victim on television because they supported somebody's politics, in this case Trump, and insisting that Trump was found liable for rape in a civil case. That's how he put it. That's how George Stephanopoulos put it. It wasn't true. It wasn't true. And so to avoid continuing, ABC settled. So this had an impact on pretty much all of ABC and how they're, and not just ABC, outside of ABC, because there was a recognition that you can have free speech, but you can't defame someone and not expect there to be civil consequences. So that's what happened, as well as the necessity for an apology within the settlement. How did this apology go? ABC News and George Stephanopoulos regret statements regarding President Donald J. Trump made during an interview by George Stephanopoulos with Representative Nancy Mace on ABC's This Week on March 10, 2024. 2 points to the right. Then we have this this person. Let's see if we can. Let me clean this up here. There we go. We have Lindy Lee, one of the key fundraisers for the Democratic Party, coming forward, and she had a lot to say after the elections. Basically, she was in contact with the White House, the DNC, with the Harris campaign, wanting to know where the money went and what happened and what went wrong. And they thumbed their nose at her. And at some point, when she decided to go public with what happened and the allegations that she had, she ended up getting what she believes was a threat from the White House. But that didn't slow her down. She has a lot of questions about where the money went and for what. 1 point to the right, thanks to Lindy Lee. Okay, so we have the defeat of Special Counsel Jack Smith. And I think to some degree we could just kind of go ahead and lump that in with the removal of Fani Willis from the Trump case. These are both symbolic victories for the right. Jack Smith has been someone who has pursued Trump, who even knows how long at this point, and we have Fani Willis and everything that she stands for as far as the corruption and how she handled stuff that the right believes was unjust. The same with Jack Smith. So the impact to the right for both of these is really high. Both are definitely important for morale. And what can you say? Even if I guess the only other thing I'll say about Jack Smith, even if he had continued and not dropped the criminal cases against Trump, Trump had already said he is going to fire him and his whole team when he got in. So Jack Smith obviously made a good choice just to get out of the way and not continue to push along something that was obviously going to fail and just make him radioactive in Washington, which he already is. And now moving on to paid opposition, by which we had on the left the paid endorsements of Oprah Winfrey, Beyonce, Al Sharpton, and a bunch of other low-value celebrities for the concerts and all the rest of that stuff. This comes right back to Lindy Lee. Where did all the money go? Well, with all this stuff that happened, it's obvious that not obvious, but what has come out is a lot of money went to a lot of production companies, friends of the campaign, friends of the DNC, to supposedly accomplish things that needed to be done. But as far as this item goes, being a paid endorser is ridiculous. It demeans let's say the sincerity of the process. And someone like Oprah Winfrey, who knows where her political feelings really are, but at the end of the day, she's definitely stained by this. All of these players end up going to the bench, and they're not going to be able to, let's say, exert any credibility for some time. Sharpton hasn't had credibility. Sharpton hasn't had credibility for 30 years. However, probably him and Oprah and the rest of them will at least not be in the public for a while. So anyway, 4 points to the right. The Cybertruck Hotel at the hotel, the explosion. You put a Cybertruck filled with explosives in front of the Trump Hotel. The idea probably was that it would blow off the front of the hotel, and it would have been Elon Musk's truck doing it. However, the truck was well made. The front of the hotel, or the front of the hotel at least, is well made, and the explosion was contained and pushed upward. And so actually, if you look at the truck, you can see that the truck is intact. It didn't blow off the wheels. The truck is intact. The hotel is undamaged. There was no loss of life. No one was hurt. It's kind of amazing when you think about it. So in this case, it's not really what happened. It's more what didn't happen. And how bad it could have been, and what it would have looked like if this had gone another way. So next one down, Representative Mike Johnson as Speaker. So many people in MAGA, so many people on the right don't like him. He really is a smarmy guy. But all that to say, he's practical, and the political cost of him being there is something that will be figured with time. But could somebody else have gotten through as Speaker? Probably not, and that was the practical part of Mike Johnson. So on total, Republicans lose a point, but they didn't really have a choice but to lose that point. It's a sacrifice. Minority gains. This is interesting. You're going to see later that with the Democrats and MAGA, the numbers are different. The numbers, or how the calculation is done, is a little bit different. Here it's a 2-point gain for the Republicans, because if it wasn't Trump, if MAGA didn't exist, it's unlikely that the Republicans would have won in the way that they did. So the statistics which have come to bear between the election and now really show that the breakout is significant. It's not just that Hispanics and blacks and every other minority group made decisions. They made decisions to vote for the right. So that has a value, 2 points for gains in the area of minority communities. All right, so now we move on to the left and the Democrats. CNN. This is a nice one. CNN has permitted Scott Jennings to continue to show up and be an intelligent person on air. Scott Jennings is an extremely successful person outside of the media. I think he has the largest or second largest PR company in his home state. And to CNN's credit, who can say that it they could have done it a different way. They could have put somebody on who was completely incompetent to really hold the positions of the right. But they have somebody who's very competent, who he's normally the only person in a group of people on a panel who takes the position of the right. So good going CNN on that. But we all know at the end of the day, it's for fun to beat up on, for 5 people to beat up on the one person on the right, and that the left enjoys it. But it still doesn't matter. That's still a point for the left. Nice going. The messaging of Hitler as Trump, or Trump as Hitler in the media, that ended on the day that Trump was elected. Good decision. Comparing Trump to Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, a fascist, all the rest of that stuff disappeared in the air. Wise decision. Good political move on the left. 1 point. However, we turn around and Joe Scarborough and his wife go running to Mar-a-Lago directly after the election. And however you feel about Scarborough, it's not debatable. He is an important figure on the left that has pushed the idea of Trump as being, what is the word? I can't think of it now. I've blocked it from my mind. That he is someone who will turn democracy on its head and turn the U.S. into some sort of a dictatorship. Well, if you believe that, then that's fine until that same person goes running to the fascist dictator and doesn't record the interview, doesn't have any footage of it, and comes back and says, well, we're going to see what we can do to make things better for all of America. Well, the left didn't believe it, and it was a terrible betrayal of all the people who really admired him. As someone put it on the left, it's irrelevant. They have portrayed Trump as instrumental to the end of democracy, an authoritarian dictator. Where's their videotaped journalistic sit-down interview with the hard questions Joe supposedly asked? And Joe and Mika said that they had some sort of a interview and asked him the difficult questions. So he continues, there isn't one because they want to be relevant with this administration and grovel to an individual they found despicable. All right, well, who can say that's not true? Anyhow, take 2 points off. Then you've got another person running to get away and still continue to be relevant, which is Sink from the Young Turks. This guy is really a unapologetic liar. He says whatever comes into his head on the left, but it doesn't matter because he really is a strong voice was a strong voice for the Democratic Party, and he has been there since 2007 with the Young Turks and this person, Anna Kasparian, who we'll get to in a moment. So for him, directly after the election, to change his position to being, again, another Trump is a fascist, to what's wrong with working with people who are trying to do the right thing, and reaching out to these people who are on the right, particularly the incoming administration. Many people, just like with Joe Scarborough, found that a betrayal, which rightfully so. Yet another insincere effort to keep his name relevant. On the other hand, his colleague over at the Young Turks, Anna Kasparian, her transition has been slow, but it has been consistent. And she is a California resident, or she has family there. She grew up there. I think she's from what part of California? But anyhow, she has a lot of connections to California, and her feelings on the left have really changed over time. To even though I don't believe that she has declared herself an independent. She said she's not associated with the Democratic Party at this point, but at the same time, I don't think she said that she's independent. But when you listen to her talk now, it's clear that she is. She's been with the Young Turks since 2007, I believe 2008. She has been a credible voice for the Democratic Party. She's done a lot of things which have been underhanded, which going after Jimmy Dore, going after other people, just like her colleague. But at the same time, we'll have to see whether it's sincere. But the left loses 2 points because she doesn't speak for the left any longer. That's clear. So the left loses 2 points. We'll see what actually happens with her, but let's move on. We have Stephen A. Smith. The left tried to shame him when after the election for some comments he made, and he came back and said, "Hey, look, I'm not with you guys. I'm independent. I'm going to make my own mind up." And so the left loses the ability to say that Stephen Smith is a person on the left. He's independent. He's his own man. Lose a point because you could have said it before, but you can't say it now. Charlemagne, another runner, another person trying to get as far away from the controversy as possible after the election. He was all in on Kamala, and the day after, he recognized that with the days after that, the statistics showed that probably a lot of his viewership was not on his side and shared his opinions about Trump being a fascist and the rest of that. So lose 1 point. He's not as relevant as he used to be, not as popular as he used to be, but it's still worth losing a point because once again, there's a loss of credibility from these people that are running. On the left, the crybaby stuff, we've gone through that on the right, but here 2 points are lost because why would we say that here? Because it could have been done another way. There could have been a stronger showing from the left on, let's say, on losing, rather than how it was handled. So lose 2 points there. Stephanopoulos, we've been through what happened there. Lose 3 points because, Stephanopoulos, if you're old enough to remember, I mean, he was a featured, how would you even put this? A featured entity, not entity, how am I going to put this? Reference on Friends way back when. I mean, that's how popular he was with Clinton. I mean, this guy is a star player on the left. And so to have him come down to this level of doing this thing that he did really injures his credibility. Like I said, it's taking the credibility of a star player out of the game. George Stephanopoulos, lose 3 points. Minority losses. This is a 6-point loss for the Democrats. This is definitely a big one. And why is that? Because the Democratic Party has banked on Hispanics, blacks, every other minority group coming out to vote for them. And I say that let me qualify that. And if they can't get them to vote, they have inspired these people to not vote, especially the black community. Stay home, don't vote if you can't vote for us. That didn't happen this time. People in the minority communities voted against the Democrats. They went out and voted against the Democrats rather than staying home. That showed up in the stats, and that's really important, and that is a huge loss. How can it be a 6 if our range is between a +3, -3? Because each of these really should be a point by itself, but in this case, we're just going to call it 6 and deal with it that way. So there was a Meet the Press interview with Trump in December with, what is her name? Kristen Welker. And she tried many times to get Trump to say something, but she wasn't skilled enough. She was too aggressive. She didn't lull him into it. She really had an opportunity. And Trump, he's sitting there and he's such a player. He says to her something to the effect of, you really could have been you really could have been better. And he knows that she could have caught him off guard if she had just played her cards differently, but she was way too aggressive. Nothing came out of it. 0 points. Lindy Lee on the left, that's a 2-point loss. Why? Because she's going to make it difficult for the DNC Democrats to raise money when nobody's going. Who wants to be a fundraiser in the middle of this? Who wants to give their money to the DNC or to a candidate after this? Obviously, people are going to continue to give to the Democratic Party anyway, but this is a stain that counts. It definitely counts. That's -2 points for Lindy Lee. Paid opposition, paid endorsements. That's for the same reason it was a positive for the right. It's a loss of credibility on the left. This one has more to do with how they spent the money, and lose 4 points. They took the money, gave it to friends. It's not just the celebrities. The celebrities were an excuse to get the money out the door in a lot of different, and push it into a lot of different places. You have someone like Al Sharpton. Is Al Sharpton worth $500,000 for a 1-hour interview? Maybe he is, but a lot of people on the left don't feel that way. So, yeah, very poor decisions. But we have a point coming on the H-1B visa debate that was pushed out really well from the left. It wasn't a valid controversy. The left definitely made it a controversy by pushing it through the media. And what came out of that was Musk didn't change his position. Trump didn't change his position. However, it did cause a lot of squabbling on the right. And it did come out that Ramaswamy has some rather negative views of parts of American culture. Let's say the American work ethic, which who knew? But he tweeted about it, and definitely was a losing. Well, definitely was a loser for the right. And the left gets a point on that one. Well done. Certifying the vote on January the 6th. The left kept it classy. They sure did. And it could not have been much better. No drama. So, a point for that. On the right, there was so much discussion about how the left may end up interfering with the certification of the vote. Even if Trump won, they wouldn't let him into office. And it just didn't happen. It just disappeared in the mist. So, well played. The Jimmy Carter funeral, I have a video specifically on that. 2 points to the left. specifically for Obama for handling it the way that he did. After everything that's gone wrong with the messaging from Obama during the campaign, this is definitely a positive, just to see him smile and look more like a human being sitting next to his supposed enemy. And by the way, I have a separate video on that. So we'll just wrap it up here with a few other items. Within MAGA, the H-1B visa debate was forced on them by the left. They handled it as well as they could. Musk and Trump get points for that. Ramaswamy loses them a point, so they end up with a 1-point gain. Wasn't a valid controversy for the right, but within the context of MAGA, it showed that Musk and Trump have this cohesion, and they didn't break with the controversy. Minority gains, this is definitely a +6 on the MAGA side, and you saw that for the Republicans it was a +2, but the minority gains really have to do with the doctrine of MAGA, which is different than the Republican Party. So points there. Titan onboarding. Well, this is a lot of fun. You've got Bezos. He's met with Trump. He has sent, after the election, he sent a very, very kind congratulatory message that was much more than just, it was much more than it needed to be. It was much more than cordial. It was someone who wanted to see Trump win. And that was clear in the message. I might do a separate video on that message. But all that to say, can Bezos get the Washington Post in line? Will he? Who knows? We'll see. But he is worth, let me get the number, about he's worth about $250 billion. We'll have to wait and see if it's sincere, but I believe that he has come more into this space of Trump and Musk. The same thing here for Zuckerberg. It's very clear that, and we'll talk about this later, that Zuckerberg, he didn't take the same stand that Musk took. He was definitely, he bent, and he did what the last administration wanted. There isn't any way around that. But he's moving further to the right than what he needs to. And the sincerity of Zuckerberg on what's to come, I think it's something to watch. The indication of putting Dana White on the Meta board, that's symbolic. Going and dealing with Facebook the way that he has, as far as removing the fact checkers, rather than just saying we'll do a better job at it, he's done more than what would be considered reasonable, depending on his, let's just say, if his position was really with the Biden administration or to be on the left, the decisions he's making now could be different. And the reason why this Titan onboarding for MAGA gets 3 points is because this could have gone the other way. Right now in Washington, there are meetings every day about how they are going to kneecap Trump and how they're going to do him terrible the way they did last time. And hey, that's fair play. That's what the game is about. So these two gentlemen who have, I think between them, let me get, Zuckerberg's worth about 100 billion as of this video. Between the two of them, that's a good deal of power to bring to the table. And the Jimmy Carter funeral, well, hey, I said it a little bit earlier. Like I said, there's another video specifically on that. But this is a moment that only MAGA could have achieved. Looking at the disparity between how Vice President Pence, former President Bush, how they would have dealt with the same situation. This is something that is uniquely MAGA. It's uniquely Trump to have the charisma to sit next to your enemy and tell him a joke and have him crack up. So it's style points, 100% style points, laughing at a funeral for somebody he didn't think very much of, meaning Jimmy Carter. 2 points there. Lastly, the independents. Well, we'll start from the bottom. Stephen A. Smith, he has definitely gone to the independent side. Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks, she's definitely in the independent zone, even if she still thinks she's on the left. And Sink from the Young Turks, there's no point there because he was a good mouthpiece for the left, the DNC, but I don't know that the independents want him. I don't see any evidence of that. I don't believe that it makes any difference. So 0's a neutral, and that's that. So there you have it, a complete wrap-up of how we got all of these scores and how we got to where we are. From moving forward, the videos are going to be very short and just take in maybe 1 or 2 events or items that have to do with changing the score at any given time. So enjoy, and just remember, someday this war is going to end. All right, take care.